أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ثم الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه الأخيار أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Still under الأفعال وأنواعها, we've done the under the أحكام الفعل, we've done the حكم الماضي, we've done the حكم الأمر, and then we are going to look at the حكم المضارع, and then that will be the last of this الأفعال وأنواعها inshallah. Sheikh says حكم المضارع, يعني the ruling of the مضارع. حكم المضارع basically the إعراب of مضارع and certain rulings around the الفعل المضارع. There are things that if you've gone through the النحو الواضح, you are already used to them, but then it's good when you run on them here as well because it's quite summarized here. It says الفعل المضارع علامته أن يكون في أوله حرف من حروف المضارعة. فعل المضارع is sign for you to determine that this is a فعل مضارع is that you must find in its beginning, and in the beginning of the writing of the فعل مضارع, you must find one of those حروف المضارعة, as we already know them, the alif nun ya ta, that we call the أحرف المضارعة or the حروف المضارعة. They come in the beginning of the present tense verb. So if you have the verb beginning with a dal, like dara'a, if it becomes mudara, you will definitely find it beginning with a hamza, a noon, a yai, or a ta, like tadra'u, yadra'u, adra'u, nadra'u. You find one of these letters before it. The fi'l al-mudari can never start with the actual letter of the verb. You must pay attention to that. So if you have a verb like dhahaba, you can never have its mudari beginning with the dha. The mudari must begin with a hamza, a yai, a noon, or a ta. Those are the four that we call the أحرف المضارعة. مضارعة بفتح الراء. Says وهي أحرف كلمة أنيت, and this حروف المضارع is the huruf in the word anaytu. So if you think you forget, you just memorize the word anaytu, which is the hamza, nun, yai, and ta. And then he explains that الحمزة للمتكلم مذكرا كان أو مؤنثا. Hamza comes in the beginning of the fi'l mudari if the fi'l mudari is conjugated to mutakallim, the first person. Mutakallim, the first person. If the fi'l mudari is conjugated to the first person, masculine or feminine, that is first person singular, masculine or feminine. So if you want to say I am going, you want to say I am studying, yani adrusu, adhabu, akulu. The lady, the woman, the feminine, the masculine, they will both use the the hamza will begin it. So that is why it says al hamza lil mutakallim. The hamza is for the first person. Mudhakkaran kana, be it masculine or muannasan or feminine. So you say aktubu, akumu, yani I'm writing, I'm standing up, or I'm putting up something. Al ya'u lil ghaib. The ya is for the ghaib, the third person. So when you conjugate for the third person, the ya will come in. Like yaktubu, yakumu, ya'kulu. Bimana huwa. The ya comes before the conjugation of the third person. Likewise, even the plural. So you say yaktubuna, ya'kuluna, yashrabuna. The ya will begin the verb. And it says at-ta'u lil mukhatabi aw al ghaibati. The ta is for the mukhatab, that is the second person masculine, and the ta is again for the third person feminine. So it is for anta. It as well for here. Likewise, it applies to the conjugation of the anta, antum. We say antum tazhabuna. It begins with the ta. Anta tazhabu begins with the ta. Say here tazhabu. Here tashrabu. Here ta'kulu. It begins with the ta. So he says taktubu anta, and you say taktubu here. Jamil. An-nunu lil mutakallimin. the noon comes in the beginning of the conjugation for first person plural. That is nahnu. You say nahnu nadhhabu, nahnu na'kulu, nahnu nashrabu. Begins with the noon. And then it says al-fi'l al-mudari'u mu'rabun marfu'un bi'alamatayn. He's done with showing you how to make you determine a fi'l mudari'. So he comes to the i'rab and he tells you fi'l mudari' is mu'rab. You've learned that the fi'l madi and then the fi'l amr, they are mabniyani, they are mabni. But with the fi'l mudari', it is mu'rab. And it is mu'rabun marfu'un bi'alamatayn. It is marfu' by two signs. What are these two signs? He says ad-dammatu zahira, a plain dhamma that you see, and then ad-dammatu al-muqaddara. Ad-dammatu zahira, he gives example. Yaskharu, you can say ya'kulu, yashrabu, yadhhabu. You see the dhamma at the end, az-zahira. And then ad-dammatu al-muqaddara, nahu, yad'u, yas'a, yarmi. So you already know if the fi'l is mu'tallul lam and it is marfu, the dhamma will be muqaddara. So if you have something like da'a, yad'u, you can say yad'u. Rama, yarmi, you can say yarmiyu. Jamil, that is how it goes. Sa'a, yas'a, you can say yas'au, yas'au, or something like that. It can work. So when the verb ends with a weak letter, it becomes marfu'un bidhammatil muqaddara. Says إذا اتصلت به نون التوكيد أي إذا اتصلت بالفعل المضارع نون التوكيد الثقيلة أو الخفيفة. You already know the فعل نون التوكيد الثقيلة and خفيفة. If the نون التوكيد الثقيلة أو خفيفة comes into contact with the فعل المضارع, what happens to the فعل؟ بني على الفتح. The فعل المضارع becomes مبني على الفتح. So this is the first scenario where the فعل المضارع becomes مبني. We know it is mu'rab, but it will become mabni when it comes into contact with the noon al-tawqid, whether thaqila or khafifa. So we have something like ya'kulanna. So you see ya'kulu, the moment we bring the noon tawqid, then it becomes ya'kula, ya'kulanna. So the fi'l here becomes fi'l mudari mabniyun ala al-fathi liittisalihi bi noon al-tawqid al-thaqila. أو لاتصاله بنون التوكيد. Then we have ya'khudhan, ya'khudhan, ya'khudhan. It is ya'khudhu. Then we bring noon al-tawqid al-khafifa. That is the noon sukun. Then we get ya'khudhan. We find the verb ending with fatha becomes fi'l mudari mabniun ala al-fath liittisalihi bi noon al-tawqid. Says إذا اتصلت به نون النسوة. If the fi'l mudari comes into contact with, or it is suffixed with noon al-niswa, the noon of feminine. بني معها على السكون. The fi'l mudari becomes مبني على السكون because of the نون النسوة. So we have تلعبنا, from تلعب to تلعبنا. جميل. Then we have تأكل to تأكلنا, تأكلنا. Because of the نون نسوة at the end we get تأكلنا, تلعبنا. So the fi'l mudari here becomes fi'l mudari مبني على السكون لاتصاله because it is in contact with نون النسوة. جميل. says إذا دخل على الفعل المضارع ناصب نصبه. If the fi'l mudari is preceded by a nasib, as we already know the nawasib already, we know the an, lan, hatta, idhan, kay, all these letters, jamil, lam, ta'lil, and all this stuff. If any of these precedes the fi'l mudari, the fi'l mudari becomes mansubun. Ay إذا دخله ناصب نصبه. If a nasib comes into contact with the fi'l mudari, it makes it mansub. So we have لن يرسب المجتهد. The hard-working person will not fail. لن يرسب. رسب يرسب. The hard-working person would not fail. يرسب, you can see it فعل مضارع منصوب باللن because of the لن وعلامة نصبه الفتحة الظاهرة. And then إذا دخل عليه جازم جزمه. The فعل مضارع, if a jazim, that is a حرف جزم, comes into contact with it or precedes it, it makes it the فعل مضارع مجزوم. So if you have something like لم, لما, لام الأمر, لا الناهية, or الشرطية, in الشرطية and all this stuff, it makes it مجزوم. It makes the فعل المضارع end with سكون basically. So you say لم أذهب إلى المدرسة اليوم. I did not go to madrasa today. لم أذهب. أذهب فعل مضارع مجزوم وعلامة جزمه السكون، أو فعل مضارع مجزوم بلم وعلامة جزمه السكون. So basically we learned that these three categories of verbs, الفعل الماضي، الفعل المضارع، فعل الأمر. فعل الماضي is مبني، فعل الأمر is مبني، الفعل المضارع is معرب except in two cases. إذا اتصلت به نون التوكيد أو إذا اتصلت به نون النسوة. If these two noon come into contact with the فعل المضارع, it becomes مبني. And then also we know that the فعل المضارع, if it stands alone, it is not preceded by anything, any jazm or nasib, the فعل المضارع is originally marfu. It is marfu until you find a jazm preceding it or a nasib preceding it. So you can easily say الفعل المضارع مرفوع حتى يدخل عليه الناصب أو الجازم. فعل المضارع is مرفوع until a nasib or jazm comes to precede it, precedes it, and then it will change it to the respective article that is preceding it. So that is the حكم الفعل المضارع. Inshallah, in our next lesson we are going to be looking at the nawasib al-mudara separately, and then we are going to go on like that to look at the other articles, inshallah. May Allah aid us through and see us through to the end of these lessons in good faith and health. Till we meet again on subsequent lessons, have a very good Arabic time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.